in the low to mid 90s.
I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
This segment sponsored by our friends at the all-new Sammy's Restaurant. Sammy's is now open in Calamasa at exit 88 off the 10 freeway next to the Jack in the Box in the former Bob's Big Boy restaurant. Not to name drop, but Sammy's in the former Bob's is a lot like Norm's. It has an extensive menu. With multiple restaurants in Rialto and places like Upland and Rancho Cucamonga, Sammy's is a great place to dine. Their menu is very similar, with their American trio of delicious steak, shrimp, and chicken, and an expansive menu. You won't go hungry, and you won't go broke at Sammy's. You can come meet Sammy and his family. Sammy was a chief cook for Norm's for years, and it shows in his menu. Sammy's is a great place to meet the family, friends, or have a community meeting. You can ask about their private meeting room, available for parties of 15 or more on a first-come, first-served basis. Sammy's is now open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day at 540 Sandalwood Drive off of exit 88 at the 10 freeway in Calamasa. Look for the Big Boy statue. It's still there. We thank Sammy for returning to this station as a loyal sponsor. You can find more info about Sammy's at sammyscafe.net. That's sammyscafe.net, where you can also find discount coupons to save money. And by the way, Sammy's has free Wi-Fi too. Sammy's in Calamasa, Rialto, or one of their other locations are ready to serve you. Sammy's is now open in Calamasa.
Re-elect Don Williamson as your county assessor. Some people run for office to serve themselves first. Others, like Don Williamson, run for office to serve you. He has a history of service as a former Marine and tax saver. When you're the assessor, you need real experience and knowledge to be effective. As a former 3-term San Bernardino County assessor, Don has a wealth of information for the people. Now he's back, running again because he wants to help people first, including seniors, veterans, mobile homeowners, and small business owners. Don's the only real experienced, educated, and certified tax professional from San Bernardino County who's actually done the job. He's a public servant. Don Williamson will cut your high taxes again. Go to VoteDonWilliamson.com. That's VoteDonWilliamson.com.
I'm Donald Williamson, Semper Fi. I want to help you save money. I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to re-elect Don Williamson 2024.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host, Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. Here we are with another 2-hour week. Actually, this is my third week in a row. I think I should get a gold star for having good attendance in the month of September. So I'm not always this consistent, but I'm trying to be extremely consistent over the next few weeks. And we're trying to build as much content as we can get into our year anniversary. Then we're going to make some adjustments at the 1 year. We've actually got some exciting things to announce here pretty soon. Somebody might flag me on the radio station if I could talk about what we're working on at some point. Nope, I'll wait and I'll actually report on that. But we're excited about it, and hopefully all the listeners will be just as excited too. Once again, the Worker Power Hour. I've got some exciting guests today, and I also there's a lot of news. I'm sure everybody's talking about the big dock strike that's happening on the East Coast. It's going all the way down the East Coast and part of the South, and 47,000 workers are out. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but obviously thrusting labor right into the center of the news. And I got a lot of great guests today. We've got somebody running for city council that's been endorsed by our PAC committee. Can't wait to hear from her. As well as I got a Teamster Advantage partner who happened to show up at the wrong building. It's driving over here, so we'll be doing a little bit of shuffling right when they get here and getting them to sit on the mic, and then we'll get to that at the appropriate time. But just a recap of last week's show. Let me just start off by saying that Joshua Christ, man, what a great interview he was. I got so many compliments from listeners on his energy, things that he talked about. He's running for school board. I was like, man, you need to run for a higher office. And obviously that's what happens is people running for school board or city council, they end up being really, really effective, and you immediately unplug them and move them into higher offices. And we really should actually encourage, I shouldn't have told them that. I should have told them, no, stay at the school board, because you need the best people you can at local government, school boards, water boards, city councils, joint power authorities. There's actually way more influence at that level. And to have somebody as well versed as Joshua was, and, coming from my hometown where I grew up most of my adolescent, and I should say, I don't know what kind of adolescent I was. I was reckless adolescent or something, living in Fontana. I had to live the part. If you lived in Fontana, you had to be a certain way. Anyway, that's probably another show. Point is, Joshua did a phenomenal job talking about labor, his understanding of labor, everything that he brought to the table, and his understanding of what needs to happen in schools and the interaction with those school districts and what schools should do, and the understanding of civic responsibility and really grasping what comes with that civic responsibility and trying to teach the next generation about labor and how that combines with civic responsibility. He just did a phenomenal job, and we're really looking forward to seeing him as a school board member in the city of Fontana, and we absolutely are excited about a relationship with him. He does a lot of things that, we got him coming in here right now. We're gonna send him a warning letter for being late on attendance. That's okay. Anyway, the other thing, we had Kirk Garrison on last week. Go ahead and put the headphones on. I'll turn your mic on. You just can't talk right now. Normally I get to go through a quick little rundown. I'll get to you probably about 18 minutes after the hour, okay, and then we'll introduce you and let you talk about your relationship with us. Sorry about that, everybody. No big deal. Anyway, Kirk was on, and Kirk did just a phenomenal job of describing what he did in the sheriff's department, working in the crime lab that he works in. It's just so cool to have Teamsters in the crime lab that are making sure that things are done right, make sure fingerprinting's handled correctly, crime scene investigation, all of the DNA, and just making sure that you're catching the right people, that you're hunting down the right people. And obviously, we're proud that they're Teamsters in that department, and we're proud to have Kirk on. And I know he's listening live. I'm going to get into live shout outs in a minute too. We also had Brian on as our Teamster Advantage partner, and man, from Budget Blinds, he was great. He was a great personality. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. He put his kids to work already, and they're like 3 and 4 and 5. Obviously, I say that jokingly if you didn't listen to last week. His kids really enjoy helping shuttle all the blinds into the truck. And I told him, hopefully you're paying him overtime and you're paying him the appropriate wages. We outlawed child labor a long time ago. Anyway, He was great. Great discounts that are offered there, 25%, and then an additional 10%, so it's 35% for Teamster Advantage partners. And look them up, and obviously make sure that you build that relationship with them. And next time you're looking for blinds in your house, they'll help you out for sure. And so with that, the next part of my show is live shout-outs. I want to get into those. As always, I've got Redlands Teamsters listening in live. Always props to you. I'm assuming they're all listening on live because a whole bunch of them are out walking precincts right now. I mean, not right now, but they're walking precincts in this cycle. I got James Estrada in here. Right, James, you're. I can say you're here, right? You're not going to get in trouble if I say you're here. Yeah. Right. Anyway, James Estrada from the city of Redlands here. And again, shout out to the Redlands Teamsters for always listening live. We appreciate that relationship, and we appreciate you guys always listening live. City of San Bernardino Streets Crews listening in live. ARMC Securities listening live. Also at ARMC, we have Olivia Gebra, and I think it's in the MICU unit. Jeremy Lopez in security. Ashley Mota in telemetry. Patricia Gardina in MICU. Teresa Preciado. And Anita Marino at Animal Control. Public Defenders Investigators are listening in live. Gordon Stewart of the Sheriff's Department. Kirk Garrison, as I said a minute ago, in the Crime Lab. Susan Loftus. I got to get Susan on here one at a time. She's great. She was on our bargaining committee, and she's in the Crime Intel unit. She was formerly a dispatcher, and so she's bounced around enough to probably tell a lot of good stories. And I loved her energy in bargaining, and she did a really good job of kind of describing how things work. And Susan, listening live, let's try to get you on the show in the future. And also the local 1932 staff, appreciate all of you listening live, especially out in Needles, all of you that listen live. And we just found out that there's a lot of people listening live in other parts of Southern California, and we really appreciate that listenership. The news, which is the next part of my show, I'm just going to report on a couple things, do a little bit of the news, move into our Teamster Advantage partner, and then I'll come back to the news. I know last week the show went so smooth, I actually didn't report on any news. Nobody complained about it, which is kind of funny. But I'm sorry, I got to do my 3 Teamster jobs. Here I am, speeding through this. I looked up at the clock and I went, there's no way I'm at 15 already. So our 3 Teamster jobs, this is a lot of people's favorite time of the show, is they always like to know the different jobs that Teamsters do in the Inland Empire. And quite frankly, sometimes we report on them, what they do across the country or across North America, wherever we represent them. We've particularly been focusing on the IE here recently, and a lot of jobs that actually 1932 represents, and then we'll get back into a more broader scope later. So the 3 Teamster jobs are actually all out of the city of Hesperia. Animal care technicians. And so an animal care technician for a city is responsible for the care and well-being of animals, typically in animal shelters or municipal facilities. They ensure that animals are healthy, well-maintained, and have a clean and safe environment. And so if you're in Hesperia, you're listening from Hesperia, those are Teamsters that are actually handling those care technicians are Teamsters. Engineering aid. An engineering aid for the city provides technical and administrative support to engineers and other staff in the planning, design, and construction and maintenance of public infrastructure. Their work helps ensure that city projects such as roads, bridges, and water systems and public buildings are all completed efficiently and according to standards. Obviously, extremely important job. We also represent a lot of engineers, all the support staff around them, and in this case, it's an engineering aid, making sure that those engineers have all the things that they need to make sure that the planning of a particular development or a city is up to snuff the way it's supposed to be. And then my personal favorite is always the pump maintenance worker. A pump maintenance worker for a city is responsible for the upkeep, repair, and operation of water and wastewater pumps, as well as other related equipment. Their work ensures that the city's water supply systems, wastewater treatment plants, and stormwater systems function efficiently. I know James can appreciate this job title because it's similar to his job title, and he deals with this space. You know, we always take for granted how, I know wastewater is a using the term wastewater. So think of how important these Teamsters are, and how they get this stuff out of your local community. They make sure it's processed. So not only do they make sure that the water comes in nice and clean, and when you turn on your spigot, magic happens and water comes out. And, there's still a lot of countries and a lot of places in the world where it doesn't work that way. Matter of fact, you can just go south a few thousand miles and find lots of communities that don't have clean, working, operating water. We do here, for the most part, in the United States, and we should absolutely appreciate that infrastructure. And we should absolutely appreciate those workers, and specifically those Teamsters that do that job in the city of Hesperia. So if you're listening in, thank you for the job that you do. And if you live in the area, make sure you think of Teamster. Our Think of Teamster program is all about making sure that we recognize Teamsters for the jobs that they do, making sure that everybody understands. I know we got wheels and horses in our logo. That's obviously, as part of our logo, it's us paying respect to our heritage and our history of more than 125 years. We don't just represent truck drivers. We obviously we represent far more than that. Matter of fact, our driving ranks is the smallest part of our union. We represent more of everything else than we do truck drivers. So the reality is the diversity of our organization representing jobs like wastewater or water on the other end, or things that James does over here. We really want to make sure that the community understands and respects how important those jobs are. And so with that is our Think of Teamster, and those are our 3 Teamster jobs. And I got to call out Carlos Barnett, Carlos Gonzalez. Man, I had Carlos Barnett on the mind. Sorry about that, Carlos. Want you to mix in, Carlos, if he usually gives me a good mix of different jobs, and maybe we can mix a couple more in of some unique ones over the next couple weeks. Robert and Carlos, if you could, that would be great, instead of it just being centric on ours, just to flavor it up a little bit more. So with that, let me move on to the next part of our show, which is Teamster News. Like I said, I'm going to do just a little bit of news, and then I'm going to break and go to our Teamster Advantage partner, who's sitting right here to my right on the screen to your left if you're watching. What's your name?
Garrett.
Sorry, Garrett.
That's
Good to
it.
meet you, Garrett.
Good to meet you.
We'll get you in just a couple more minutes. So on the news, everybody has seen that 47,000 dock workers have walked off the job on the docks, and it's the first strike that they've had since 1977. And there's in the last 2 years, the port companies have grossed over 800% in their profits. Clearly, the port companies have profited a lot in the last, I would say, 5-6 decades. And so obviously there's a little bit of a loggerheads here. Everybody's locking it up, and hopefully they find a resolve pretty soon. But from what I understand, the strike is going to cost about $3 to $4 billion a day when it comes to the movement of goods. And this is a good opportunity for people to reflect. Working people are important. And when we stop valuing working people, and we stop valuing how important it is for everybody to kind of do their job, and we kind of take for granted that, let's use the ports as an example. Millions and millions of items and products come in every single day through all these ports, and also go out through these ports on what's being made in America and goes out, and what's being made outside and comes in. And the workers that do that is obviously a very essential job and a very important job. And we obviously need to do the best we can to respect those jobs and kind of not take the goods movement system for granted. I know I came out of the goods movement system. I came out of a warehouse, 35 years ago, worked in that operation, and obviously I now work at the union. But it's a very essential job, an important job. And unfortunately, over the last few decades, there has been a devaluing of those jobs. And I've actually heard elected leaders, I have to correct them when they say it, that those jobs are transitional jobs, or you get that job temporarily and you try to move to something else. When I graduated from high school, that was a job that you could go to and you could actually spend your entire career and you can retire from. And there's nothing wrong with that. Anybody who tries to say different, that those jobs should be low paying and high turnover, is completely wrong. And that industry has been cratered by a contingent workforce, temporary agencies, by the subcontracting upon subcontractors. Corporate America has made a ton of money on that model, on those models that have stacked on top of each other, third party, fourth party, and out. And, that's kind of all come to a head now where they got what they wanted. They, being corporate greed, got what they wanted. They then kind of gutted the system of a lot of good jobs. There are still good Teamster jobs or longshoreman jobs or other unions that represent those jobs in the industry that you can still go into and ultimately retire from and raise a good working class family, middle class family on. But corporate America has won that battle over the last few decades, and it's time for it to move back the other way so that working people can afford to buy a home, so they can afford to buy a nice vehicle, so that they can live in a nice neighborhood and make sure that their kids get to and from soccer practice. So let's make sure that we support those workers. Hopefully they find a resolution really quickly. I know some people say, oh, we like to strike all the time. It's not true. 99% of the time, it's 99.8% of the time, we resolve issues without a labor dispute. It's the small percentage of times that happens that everybody goes, oh, what's going on? These workers have a right to withhold their labor until the parties can agree. And we have to respect that. Our country was built on a protest, and we respect these workers' protests. With that, the next thing I want to quickly talk about is some of you may have seen in the news that Amazon has been held accountable and it's been officially announced by the National Labor Relations Board that they have committed a ton of unfair labor practices against the workers in Palmdale. And that list is, I think, 27 items long. I'm not going to get into listing all of them. But the most important part that came out of that is them being deemed as a joint employer. So now it's official that the National Labor Relations Board has issued a complaint against Amazon and has said, you are a joint employer for these drivers. These drivers, that I remind you, drive Amazon vehicles, have Amazon uniforms, have Amazon equipment, and also operate based on how Amazon instructs the contractor to operate, yet Amazon says they're not our employees. That business model is extremely destructive. And when those workers are the responsibility of that workforce, which is 300,000 drivers in this country, is being dumped on small businesses. So if there's an accident, if there's a problem, if there's a workman's comp, an injury, whatever it may be, guess who's having to feel the pain of that? That small business owner, not Amazon. Amazon, most people don't know that the package being delivered to their home or their business is actually not, at least in Amazon's eyes, it's not an Amazon driver. They say, no, I know you look like us. I know you got our van. I know you got our uniform. I know you got everything else on the label, but you're not us. And so the official, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago when it was going to come out. We had started to announce it, and more drivers across the country are demanding that Amazon recognize them. As a matter of fact, just in the last few hours, a group in San Francisco of warehouse workers working for Amazon did the exact same thing. Many of you may not have seen the news yet. I know it's starting to get out. We just released it on our national Twitter, I guess it's X now, and all of our social media sites, and a press release just went out just a few minutes ago announcing that those workers at the warehouse in San Francisco have demanded to be recognized, have joined the Teamsters, and are looking for Amazon to sit down and negotiate a contract as well. So the wagons are circling. Amazon is being held accountable. More and more workers every single week are actually doing the same thing. They're following suit with one another. And for those of you that don't know, I'm actually the national director on that subject, so I'm kind of close to it. So I'll definitely keep you up to speed as this goes on. I'm going to take a break on the news, and what I'm going to do is get into my favorite part of the show, which is our Teamster Advantage partner and our Teamster Advantage discussion. For those of you that don't know, Teamster Advantage program has more than 1,000 small businesses that we connect to, offering up our membership, which is 100,000 lives inside of more than 30,000 households. And we advertise for free, and we just encourage our members to participate within the network, encouraging their buying power to be used and buy locally. That's going to be helpful. We're also in more than 26 chambers of commerce within the Inland Empire, and we're just trying to encourage everybody to make sure. Gotcha. Okay. Robert's flagging me here, and this is where my rookie status comes in. I'm allowed to make these kind of mistakes. Not everything's perfect on a live radio show. So anyway, Teamster. Yeah, you're gonna break real quick on a mic check for him. No, I'm just going to do that. Just go right into the Teamster Advantage. Yeah, no worries. Anyway, so the Teamster Advantage program is for me, it's a personal favorite of mine because we helped build this program in 2016, and we've now obviously blossomed to a very large population of small businesses. And we believe small businesses are exactly like the working class. They're in a space where they're trying to raise their family, make a few bucks, and pay their bills, and whether it's the rent or the mortgage or whatever it is, and just try to occupy some good space within the community. And so with that, I have Garrett, and I believe you have a solar operation. Is that correct, Garrett?
I do. We operated California's first solar repair. So we started out in the repair business in October, September of 2020. We saw a need for a lot of solar companies going out of business and that are still going out of business. So we started out in the repair business. And then in about 2 years later, we actually opened up and started doing installs.
So when you say repair, what are the things that you repair?
We repair broken inverters, which inverters are what convert the electricity to usable electricity for the homeowner. We repair panels, we do main panel upgrades, do some electrical like that. But most of the repairs that we saw first starting in that first phase of repair was that push that, those homeowners that were buying new houses, and those new houses came with solar and they didn't know anything about it, because the previous homeowner did not leave them any paperwork on it.
Gotcha.
So we were going out and educating a lot of homeowners on what they had and why they had an electric bill, because they were moving into a house that, was designed. Had solar, but they had 3 electrical vehicles and the previous homeowner had none.
Right.
So we were seeing a lot of homeowners with $4,000 or $5,000 electric bills, and we were explaining to them it was never designed to cover
to handle that much. Yeah,
correct.
Handle that many megawatts,
correct.
Kilowatts, whatever.
Kilowatts,
it is.
yeah.
Kilowatts. Yeah, megawatts is a lot.
Oh, megawatts is a lot of electricity. Yeah. Amazon facilities
do megawatts.
Correct.
Yeah. Gigawatts. Yeah. So megawatts, gigawatts, kilowatts, whatever it is. What I like to boil the solar down to is, I know when we were kids. You remember little calculators that were solar? I think they still have them now, right?
They still have them.
Yeah, they still have them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially just a big version of that, correct?
Yep.
Instead of there being a little capacitor on the back, the inverters are on the back of the panel and convert it to where it gets in the system.
Right. The big push right now is batteries. Everybody needs batteries because the utilities have reduced what they're paying you back for, for the power you're sending back to the grid, and the big push is batteries.
Yeah, so I have solar,
okay,
and have had it for a few years, for many years, and we used to have an electric car. Well, electric car, my wife drove a lot, and it would charge at night. And even though I was producing more electricity than I was using, the fact that I was drawing at night to charge the vehicle and the flip, I was still having to pay a little bit at the end of the year.
Right.
Now that we don't have the electric vehicle, I've got a crazy amount of surplus. It's got 40 panels. So, at the end of the day, it's kind of a little bit of a racket the way the electric companies pull in at wholesale, and then when you pull out of the system, you're pulling at a retail rate.
Correct. Well, and the big push is they want everybody to have electrical vehicles by 2035. Mm-hmm. If I'm being honest with you, the grid can't sustain that many people charging cars. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So they want to make everybody have batteries to have their own mini power stations at home.
So did they change the battery? Because I know when we first were looking at getting solar, we didn't get the battery because the way you store the battery and the way you utilize the battery, you could only utilize the battery when the power went out. Now I think they've changed it to where you can actually use your battery storage before you go back into using off the grid. Correct?
You can use your battery whether you have power from the grid or whether you don't. So the idea is you set the battery to what we like to call is like a maximize self-consumption, which is like autopilot for a plane. The pilot, only doesn't land the plane, but he, is there kind of on the flip side of the plane. So maximize self-consumption means when you need power from the grid and the battery's sitting there working, the battery says, no, I'm not pulling any power from the grid. I'm going to pull from the actual battery itself.
Good, yeah. So maybe we should be looking into getting a battery now, because I know when we did it, we ran into that obstacle, and I was like, well, that doesn't do me any good if the only time I can use it is during a power outage. Anyway, well, good. What? How long have you been a partner with Teamster Advantage program?
My wife actually was the partner first. She knows Mark very well. And we've
Yeah, where is Mark? He abandoned us. I guess he's not feeling well or
He's
whatever.
not-
He
yeah, he's
decided
not-
to play hooky. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not.
Who knows? He sent a text and said he wouldn't be here today. So my wife's been working with Mark for, gosh, I think probably over 7-8 years.
Oh, good.
In the local Redlands Chamber.
Oh, okay.
My wife used to be president of the Redlands Chamber, and that's how she met
Yeah,
Mark.
we've been a big sponsor of that chamber for many, many, many years. And on the board, and I think Rich is on the board now. So okay, well, that's definitely a long-term
Right.
relationship.
Yeah, they've had a long-term relationship for a while.
Good. So what's the discount that Teamster Advantage partners get?
The Teamsters discount that they get right now is going to be 15% off of a repair or 15% off of actual system,
Oh,
whichever
great.
one they need.
How far do you go with your repairs? Do you have a zip code boundary or a city boundary?
We mostly cover all of the Inland Empire,
Okay.
and we will go out into the San Diego area. We try to stay away from Los Angeles, the Valley, and Northern California.
Traffic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour drive to the west side.
Exactly.
No, thank you.
Exactly.
Right. Unless they're going to pay you for your hour. Yeah, it's part of the service
Right,
charge, right?
right.
Add a couple $100 on just for drive time, which is nuts.
Exactly.
I got a rule that I won't fly if it's less than 6 hours. I make sure I drive.
Right.
Sometimes I have to consider driving. I got to consider going from Palm Springs to L.A. just on a flight,
Yeah.
just because the traffic's that bad.
And we've done service claims in LA, and usually what we'll do is we'll just group them together. If we can hit 4 or 5,
4 or 5,
in a
maximize
one
your
day,
time.
That's really where it benefits us.
Well, you got any funny stories? Man, you got to have some crazy funny stories doing solar as long as
I've
you guys
seen-
have.
Yeah,
Some crazy things you've had to fix. Imagine things have kind of jerry rigged or try to hook up and try to happen. And
I could tell you one just happened on Monday. We went out to fix a guy's battery, and the previous solar company, out of business by the way, had drilled the main service breaker into the panel.
oh my,
So in order for us to back it out, which we did not touch, there was a possibility that we were going to have some electrical issues. More than likely probably killing power to that guy's house and the main service panel being bad.
yeah. So a lot of in those situations, that's just someone else doing some shoddy work.
Very, very shoddy work. And that's kind of what we see in the solar industry is it's to grab a buck as quick as you can, and then the company's out of business or just doesn't answer their phone anymore.
Yeah. What do you see as far as customers doing anything crazy with trying to, I don't know, save a few more bucks or something? Trying to wire directly to something that they shouldn't be doing or bypass that switch.
I always get the DIYers. You know, I bought my solar online, I installed it, and I've bypassed the Edison meter, and I'm not getting any credit for you from the utility.
Gee, I wonder why.
Did you pull a permit? I mean, how's this thing tied in? Well, they told me I could just buy it off Amazon and I could install it myself. You probably shouldn't have. You know, you probably should have made a phone call.
Yeah.
It's a growing industry of DIYers doing their own stuff.
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You're like, oh yeah, I don't want to pay this guy over here. Let's maybe just I can find some on Craigslist, the old system on Craigslist, and jerry rig it to
Exactly.
lay it on the ground or something on the side of the house.
And when you do it that way, you miss the benefits that the federal government has in place for you. I mean, you have the 30% federal tax credit that's there. And then you also have, you know, if you get a battery, there are, you know, incentives through Southern California Edison to get a battery as well. So you miss all that ability to do it when you do it yourself.
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of businesses in solar they've turned out here in the last couple of years, and so obviously you're doing something right by hanging around. Is there anything else you want to talk about your business or specials or anything you got coming up?
No, just we're rapidly growing. And if your system is, you know, if somebody tells you your system's not working, give us a call because more than likely we can fix it.
Yeah, and I don't know if people, for those of you listening that have solar, and I mean, they all have an app that you can look at. You can actually look at each of your panels and you can see how much they're producing and making sure that everything's up to snuff. I know I have a tendency to ignore that for like months on end sometimes, and I go, I got to take a look at that, make sure it's all working correctly, because you don't want to be surprised by an electric bill.
That's exactly right.
And go,
exactly
oh boy,
right.
how come I got a $400 electric bill and I'm not supposed to be getting anything right now?
That's exactly right. And keep in mind, Southern California Edison does not, they can't tell you what your system's producing. They can only tell you what you're pushing back, what you're over generating, and what you're still continuing to use from the grid. So a lot of people get that high electric bill and they'll call Southern California Edison, and Edison says your system's not working, which isn't the case. They have no way to tell
Yeah,
if
they
your
don't
system,
know.
they have no idea what your system's doing.
So do you ever get people where you install something and then they try to piggyback more on what you've installed and then you got to come out and fix it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody always wants more.
Right. And then they want to buy it again off Craigslist and then
That's exactly
strip a couple
right.
wires and put a crimper
That's
on
exactly
it.
right. Or they have the one I got yesterday was they've got a $5,000 home in Laguna, or 5,000 square foot home in Laguna.
I was like, a $5,000 home in
no,
Laguna.
no.
Where can I buy?
That's right. A 5,000 square foot home in Laguna. They bought the house from the previous elderly couple that had a small system. They've got 3 electrical vehicles.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, $1,000 a month,
Electric bill.
Electric bill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you where your bill's coming from.
Yeah, they got a panel about the size of the one on the calculator, trying to charge a car.
The old Texas Instrument.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, we really appreciate the relationship, especially the long-term relationship with Teamster Advantage and through the chamber, through your wife in the chamber. We appreciate the relationship for our members, and we obviously appreciate you being a small business owner in the community. It's a difficult task, and we're doing everything we can on our side to promote and obviously build good relationships and make sure that the community understands how important it is to support small business.
Yes, and we definitely appreciate that.
Anything you want to close on?
No, thank you for this opportunity. We greatly appreciate it.
We're going to go to break here in just a minute as soon as I can get music. Yeah, there we go. Garrett, thanks for coming on.
Thank
Once
you.
again, really appreciate the relationship, appreciate the Teamster Advantage partnership. Encourage more to participate.
All right, thank
See you
you
at the
very
other side of the break.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Endlin Empire's 14,000 member strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
Here we are back at the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corgan, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. I am joined by a couple special guests here with in the city of Redlands, and let me get my notes here. Sorry, we were taking pictures over here a few minutes ago and trying to say bye to everybody, and so let me get my my show notes lined up. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody. This is where my rookie status comes in. So, long-time organizer, first-time radio host, and if I don't have everything, propped up for me, sometimes I miss a beat.
Absolutely.
James Estrada, always great to have you on.
Thank you.
And we have Jennifer here. I am sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Can you please say it so I don't mess it up?
Of course, maravillas.
Maravillas. Did I do okay? All right. And she is running for city council in the city of Redlands. She has been endorsed by our PAC. And we figured we'd let her come on and talk. And James, I think you want to kind of open this up and start to kind of talk about all the work that's kind of being done in Redlands first, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I somehow, some way find a way to weasel my way in here, right? But I like coming on
because you hover around the door all the time.
You can't.
You're like, what about me? What
exactly,
about me?
Exactly. So here I am again. But first, foremost, thanks for having me on the show again. Yeah, we're super excited. Jennifer, we've been out there canvassing, like you said. The PAC committee endorsed Jennifer. 1932, our PAC committee endorsed Jennifer.
It was unanimous too, right?
Yeah, it was unanimous. Absolutely.
That's hard to get that group to agree on things.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. So I wasn't in that meeting. Jennifer, you must have really impressed them, like you have us. So we've been working a lot with Jennifer, doing a lot of canvassing, having a lot of meetings and conversations about, what is she going to do for the community? How is she going to connect with the membership? There's a lot of important topics to cover, but me being the chief steward, I'm always looking out for the membership's benefit, but also being a community member here in Redlands, I also have a different perspective on it. And there's a lot of a lot of topics that Jennifer wants to touch on that are important to me. One of those things being affordable housing. Right. For those that live here in Redlands, you've seen probably a lot of houses come in, and Jennifer will touch on that. There's just a lot of interesting
things. A lot of that housing is actually happening in her neighborhood, right?
It is. And you want to talk about that, or kind of introduce yourself? I guess. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah. Well, these two dudes are sitting here talking way too much, and we should be letting her talk.
Yeah, we'll take over the show, so we'll stop right now.
Well, I'm usually my favorite spot to be is the listener, and so it's very new to be the one needing to talk. But so there's a lot of growth happening in District 2, North Redlands. There's over 1,000 housing units that are either apartments, single family homes, condominiums that have been approved and will be going up in the next year or so.
Oh boy, that's a lot.
It is a lot. However, affordable housing, it doesn't seem to exist anymore. And so these homes are starting at $500,000 to $800,000. The rent for, a one bedroom, it's upwards of $2,000. So affordability is a very significant issue because it also ties back to, our unhoused community. I have been able to talk to several folks within Redlands that are part of our unhoused community, and they're working full time. They just cannot afford rent. And so that is very significant, like I said, affordable housing and tackling that, making sure we increase our inventory. But also one of the things that I feel is an opportunity is ADUs. And that's additional dwelling units. I don't know if that's familiar, but homes being built on the back of in your yard if you have the area or the big enough lot. And yeah, like I said, a big push for us.
I got a couple sheds I want to convert. Can I? No.
No, we want appropriate
that's where
housing.
That's where you move the mother-in-law into, right? If my mother-in-law is listening right now. Which shed? I'm not sure. Do you want the metal one or do you want the wood one? I'm just kidding.
Randy, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Okay, Jennifer.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. I thought I'd have some fun with that.
No, I appreciate it. You give me a break. But yeah, so affordable housing.
I like this. Move the mother. How about the father-in-law? Right? Move
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be a woman. Make it a man. Let's move the father-in-law.
Absolutely.
And stick him in the metal
Why
shed.
not?
A man
exactly.
cave.
Yeah, like the man
cave over there.
Correct.
But yeah, that's one of the main focuses that I have as a priority.
So what else? Let's obviously you're out knocking on a lot of doors right now.
Yes.
How is that? I love one of the things I really love about my job. A lot of it has to do with knocking on doors, door knocking. It's house calling or canvassing, and you just build a relationship with the community. You get to know people. You get to. It's crazy how many people will invite you in. You sit down, have a great conversation. You get to learn about them in a deep way. Do you like that part of canvassing?
I absolutely love connecting with our community. Personally, like I said, I am very much an introvert. But when we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, we grow as people. And I've been growing a lot and learning a lot. But yeah, one of my favorite things has been canvassing, and we've been canvassing since last year, actually. I've been active in getting trainings because this is my first time ever running, and I never anticipated me doing this. So I really wanted to take the time to prepare myself. So, but in the beginning too, I started canvassing with the purpose of understanding what our community needed from their words.
Yeah, and asking them.
Absolutely. So it was basically, myself and some of my friends going out there and knocking on doors and asking them, hey, I'm running for city council, but I'm here to ask you a question. What do you think is important? What do you think city council needs to prioritize? What is being overlooked? And we compiled that information because I love data. I'm a nerd like that. But we gathered answers from our community members, and that's significant. And even now that we're going back around to canvas again, and
you're hitting the households you hit already.
Yeah, they remember.
How fun is that they remember you?
It's very interesting, especially right now where the yard signs are everywhere, and people are reaching out for yard signs, and it's, like I said, something that I never anticipated happening. But
isn't it crazy
to
see your name? Like
it's
kind of a little weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I'm grateful for the folks that allow us to put our yard signs up there, because it's, like I said, my first time running. So getting the name out there is very, very important. But like I said, for us, our approach has been focusing on connecting with our community and having those conversations and putting them in the center of our priorities.
It's interesting. Something I talk about a lot on the show is that the average person today socially has really disconnected from their civic responsibility. And I always ask in a joking way, every elected official that's coming in either seeking office or continuing to seek office, you should have your head examined, and I'll explain to you why, is because what's interesting is all, the constituents demand change and, this rule, and I need this and I need that. So then what happens is a set of rules gets applied, and then another set of rules, and then another set of rules, and then another set of rules. And then everybody really gets upset. Oh, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. And a lot of it is because over, let's say, 30, 40, 50 years, the constituency has demanded so many different changes and so many different adjustments that you got to figure out how to kind of dance between the raindrops on all the different rules that everybody's wanted in place. Some of them conflicting, some of them and so running for city council, it's no easy feat, because you have got to figure out how to navigate all of those rules. Stuff that's interesting, because a group of people that say they're in their 30s are typically going to have different issues that they feel city council would do versus a group in their 50s or in their 70s, right? And so then when you deal with a community that people have gone from their 30s to their 50s to their 70s, and they've actually shifted and maybe never still gone to a city council meeting, that's an interesting dilemma. What do you think about civic responsibility and trying to create more civic responsibility within our community?
Yeah, that's something that's very important for North Redland, specifically District 2, because as I've been out there and having these conversations, a lot of folks don't even know who our current council member is, or don't know what's happening. They don't know what developments are coming. So one of the main things that, I am pushing is attend a city council meeting. Start there. It could be intimidating, or even just tune into a city council meeting. But to talk about, like the ever-changing priorities or asks from the community, I think what is very important is, as an elected official, to be centered on your moral values and ethical values as well, and be concrete on those. And at the same time, I've been very authentic and straightforward with folks as to who I am and what I stand for. And at the end, people will either vote for me or not. But I'm very excited for the opportunity to really gather North Redlands and District 2 to participate more. And so I've been gathering people's emails. My plan,
you can do mini town halls or something.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So having a quarterly town hall, but even a newsletter, a monthly newsletter that we could send just to provide updates. I'm pretty active on my social media too, trying to put as many updates as I can regarding North Redlands. But in the middle of the campaign, it's a little
tough.
challenging.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
But I think the biggest thing is just putting the information out there and letting people know, like, hey, this is an option and you could participate. But, also understanding the fact that a lot of folks in, North Redlands are working families, working individuals. And you get home after work, and the last thing that you want to do is, let me tune in to a city council meeting.
Yes.
So, we have to face that reality of what it is.
But we can't give up on it either. So there's got to be a balance. One of the things I like to say is, maybe you don't go to every city council meeting, but you do one a year or something. And if everybody did one a year, you'd have enough of a sense of kind of what's going on, because we have a tendency in today's day with the amount of information we can get so quickly is we just say, we just need to do 1, 2, 3. And it's like, well, government doesn't work that way. And some will say, well, that's the problem with government. No, the problem with government is that we've made it that way. The people have, not the government's made it that way. The people have demanded the change, and then the change flip-flops, right? So then sometimes it's, it got to be this priority, then it moves to another space. Then all of those rules that have been asked to be created, you have to navigate them. And I think that people just have to be a little bit more patient to understand those processes, especially if you're depending on someone else to give you the information because you don't have the time to do it. And understanding that in today's day, as much as some people are working 2 and 3 jobs, and it's hard for them to engage in that space. But it's definitely challenging, and hats off to you. I wonder if Eddie Tejeda is listening in.
It's possible. This has been advertised
doing,
all
Eddie?
over social media. And getting back to Jennifer, us walking out there with Jennifer, I do want to say this is important for me, not only as a Teamster member, and community member, but it's been a real family-oriented canvas. Jennifer's been out there with her family. We've been out there with, sons and daughters. It's been a real family-oriented grassroots canvassing. It's been good one-on-one conversations. And me, once you get me in the door, you're not going to get me to stop. So, but at the end of the day, it's been a really good, I think family-oriented canvassing that we have.
James gets in the door, he's ordering pizza,
Yeah,
adjusting the heat.
Yeah, exactly. But
feeding the cat.
Feeding the cats. And, Jennifer's made herself really accessible to us, in terms of simply just calling her, meeting her at, coffee shops, local coffee shops here in Redlands. Teamster Advantage one. Slow Bloom is one where we're always at. Shout out to Slow Bloom.
We love Slow Bloom.
We do love Slow Bloom. Additionally, too, on her social media,
they're going to be Teamsters here pretty soon.
I was excited we were present at that one of those meetings. Yes. Yeah, that was exciting news. But Jennifer on her social media too, very accessible. We can have conversation back and forth publicly on the comments. The comments are available for all of us to see, which I think is very important to have complete transparency. We don't necessarily see that across the board with all candidates, and that's okay. But I think it also shows that Jennifer is willing to take some challenging questions. She's new to this right now here in Redlands as far as running for elected office here as council. But I'll tell you what, she has linked up with the right people in terms of our Denise Davis and Jenna, and she has a lot of good support behind her with a lot of like-minded people that I think we do a lot of work with as well as Teamsters.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. I know I'm hearing nothing but positive coming from all different directions. So do you want to take a few minutes? We've got about 5 minutes left before we go to a mandatory break. The other break, I can figure out where it goes. But the top of the hour, I have to take it right at the top of the hour. Anything, Jennifer, you'd like to introduce yourself as far as, like what do you do for a living, or maybe your hobbies or something. I don't know.
How long have you been here in Redlands and so forth? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well,
about you?
I'll take a little bit from what you mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole journey of campaigning has been involving my husband, Eddie de la Torre, who might be listening. I don't know. He's working.
Shout out Eddie.
To my Eddie.
Better be listening.
Yes, to her Eddie.
And my 4-year-old daughter. So, and I mean, I've even dragged my parents, who are also listening. They downloaded the app and are listening. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. And, it's been focused on making sure that this is as difficult as it could be, that I also will look back and be like, you know what? I had my family. Yes, it was a great experience because I had my family. I had my team by my side. And one of the main things, too, that has been very amazing and humbling has been the community that I have found through running and putting myself out there. Jenna Guzman-Lari, Denise Davis, having their support. But I mean, with the community, I've been able to, again, connect with so many individuals that want to make Redlands a better place and that are truly, truly dedicated to making that happen. And to have them on my team is amazing. To have their support, their endorsements, them walking out. I mean, it takes a lot for folks want to come out and canvas for you. And we've had, I mean, a good number of folks wanting to come and canvas. And so, like I said, overall, I'm just really, really grateful for this opportunity because it's amazing. And at the end of it, like I said, I want to look back and just say, hey, I'm proud, and I could definitely say that our campaign has been doing amazing work with making sure that we connect with our community and making sure that we are really prioritizing the right things.
And not that I can give you political advice, because I never have any aspiration for running for any like political office, like city or anything like that. But I'm an organizer, and so I love to knock on doors. I've been knocking on doors for over 30 years. And the whole part about building that relationship with people where you really get to understand and learn their dynamics, the challenges, what's going on in their lives, and you get to participate and help kind of walk through that journey is definitely a tremendous amount of fun. As an organizer for as long as I've been with, I'm talking, tens of thousands of workers in that time frame. It's always inspiring to see someone just like you that are inspired and fired up and full of hope by knocking on doors, doing it the old-fashioned way, one-on-one. Yeah, social media, the digital age is helpful for some things. It's not a replacement. Yard sign is not a replacement. Walking up, asking a question, shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eye, and having a good conversation, and that is how we build real relationships in our community. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing your story, and obviously putting yourself out there and willing to knock on those doors. Don't ever step away from that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, this is something that has been prioritized, right? Getting the community together, become one voice, because North Redlands does need that voice that will lead, but we need the community to still be backing. Yeah,
leading in situations like this is always difficult because you're encouraging everybody to participate and you want to hear, and then you got to lead. And so there's the dynamic and the dichotomy sometimes of leading, but also listening.
Yeah.
And that is always a tightrope that's going to be tough. It sounds like you figured out how to walk it already. So I know we're going to be going to a break here real quick. Anything you want to close on?
No, just thank you for having me.
Yeah, looking forward. Hopefully you win on November 5th. And
District 2. Jennifer Matavias for District 2. Check her out on her social media. Follow Redlands employees. Let us know if you need a sign. And also October 10th at U of R at the Cusloma Room. You can see Jennifer there. She's going to have the council candidate forum, right?
City council candidates, yeah. Join us.
October 10th at U of R. Show your support.
Great. We're going to go to break. We'll hear music until we get to the mandatory break.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Chris Coraggio.
The death toll has risen to 175 in the southeast, with hundreds still missing after Hurricane Helene and its remnants swept through the region. Areas of North Carolina have been devastated by floods, with Buncombe County authorities saying the death toll has risen to almost 60, with property damage estimated to be in the billions. Over 1 million in the region are still without power, from Florida up to Virginia. President Biden is in North Carolina today. to tour impacted areas. Israeli forces are engaging in fighting on the ground with Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon. This comes after Iran fired 200 ballistic missiles at Israel yesterday, with most of them being deterred. Prime Minister Netanyahu said it was a big mistake made by Iran and that the country will pay. Iran said the attack was a response to the killings of Hezbollah and Hamas leaders in Lebanon and Iran. Today, President Biden and G7 leaders are holding a call on the rising tensions in the Middle East. Dock workers on the east and Gulf coasts of the U.S. are on day 2 of their strike. Stu Leonard has supermarkets up and down the East Coast, and he worries that people across the U.S. will start feeling the pinch soon.
So there's a ripple effect that is going to clog up the supply chain.
Dock workers have halted the flow of about half the nation's ocean shipping after negotiations for a new labor contract broke down over wages. Analysts warn that the disruption will cost the economy billions of dollars a day, threaten jobs, and stoke inflation. Representing 45,000 port workers, the International Longshoremen's Association had been negotiating with the United States Maritime Alliance for a new 6-year contract. President Biden has said he won't use federal powers to force dock workers to remain on the job. A record-breaking heat wave will impact the Southwest and California coast through the weekend. Phoenix is expected to see temperatures reach nearly 110 degrees every day through Sunday. Las Vegas will also see temperatures get above 100 each day. Meanwhile, people in Los Angeles will feel the heat with temperatures in the low to mid-90s.
I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
We've got to hire a new marshal, Derek Marshall. Your ballots are in the mail. Mail them in today. Now there's something to vote for because there's a new marshal in town. Vote Derek Marshall for 23rd Congress.
Y'all know we need to change Congress. The current Congress does nothing but fight with each other. They've forgotten why we sent them there, to work. Let's marshal and fix our problems at the border. A comprehensive plan, not political rhetoric and infighting.
Yes, there's a new marshal in town.
The rent is too darn high. Let's marshal in affordable housing and real affordable universal health care. Better union jobs.
The current Congress member put his party first and not people. But there's a new marshal in town.
Our incumbent party politician voted no on the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure bill. He voted no to $3 billion in new funds for our district and no to 35,000 new jobs right here at home. He said, we need a secure border, but now he's rolled it back to play politics. We need to marshal real solutions.
Vote for Derek Marshall because we've got to hire a new marshal, Derek Marshall. You can go to DerekMarshallCA.com, paid for by Derek Marshall for Congress.
My name is Derek Marshall, and I approve this message.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it.
KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
What would you do if you had a broken bone? You'd go to the doctor and use your insurance, right? Well, what would you do if you have a serious problem with drugs and alcohol? Most people do nothing until it's way too late. Your insurance can help you get clean and sober with the assistance of a place like the Detox and Treatment Helpline. Many times, addiction treatment is fully covered. So why not use your insurance to treat your addiction problem just like you would if you had a broken bone? And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed to take time off by law, and your employer doesn't need to know the reason. So there are 2 good reasons. You've got insurance you can use for your addiction problem, and with the Family Medical Leave Act, it's completely confidential. Call now, 800-398-7414. That's 800-398-7414.
KCAA.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary-Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
Here we are back at our second half of the hour. It's Randy Corrigan, the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. I have a special shout out I have to do right now, and I understand that our ERC, our shop stewards for the county of San Bernardino, are all meeting at the building right now, and we just want to let you know we appreciate you listening live, and I'm assuming there's somewhere between 70 and 110 of them there at the Teamsters 1932 building, and so you guys are going to have a great meeting. You got the next couple hours with Kathleen Brennan, our president, and with Carlos Gonzalez, our staff coordinator, and I think you guys are going to be going over building towards investigative interviews, or Skelly. I think it's a Skelly today. So really appreciate all of you listening in, and that special shout out with a whole bunch of people in the same room. We'll make sure you get the link to listen to the rest of it, because you can't listen to the show and do your meeting over the next couple hours. And also we want to do a quick shout out to Councilwoman Denise Davis. They're listening in live. She already posted some stuff on social media and did a blast out. So thank you very much for that. And also our Redlands folks, all of our Redlands members are posting and thanking for the shout. Thank you for the shout out and the recognition. We love you out there. And one last time for those of you at the ERC, have a great meeting, and we'll talk to you soon. So with that, the next part of the second half of our hour, I'm going to have a guest on here who's one of our newest Teamsters, and Alex Perez, who's from the city of Montclair. We'll get into his conversation here in a bit. I'm going to try to finish up some news that I didn't finish up on the first half of the hour, and then we'll kind of get back over to our guest. Let's see, Carlos just texted me. He's running that meeting, see if there's anything in particular that he needs me to say. Oh, nope, just a thanks. Well, they're probably not listening now, so all that was for nothing. Long-time organizer, first-time radio host. So guess what? I get my rookie status, gets me away with doing these little bumbles every now and then. With that, news. Man, boy, there's a lot in the news. Yep, there it is. Man, I feel like I'm on like CNN or something, man. NBC. Actually, I am on NBC. I got that logo right in the back right there. So the Warehouse Worker Protection Act secures bipartisan support. The Teamsters have actually supported an act that not only was propped up in the state of California, as well as New York, Michigan, Minnesota, and a number of other states across the country, but now we're trying to push a federal one, and it has actually more senators have signed on, more congressional leaders have signed on. We have Ed Markey from Massachusetts. We have Josh Hawley from Missouri, who is a Republican. We have Tina Smith from Minnesota, and we have Bob Casey from Pennsylvania. And the Warehouse Worker Protection Act is being reintroduced into the U.S. Senate right now. This is absolutely a build-off of what we did with AB 701 in California, as well as a number of other states across the country, trying to hold companies and corporations like Amazon accountable when it comes to unsafe working conditions, and abusive productivity quotes. We also have first drivers in Los Angeles that have organized to join Teamsters 572. Congratulations to them. Lourdes Garcia, who is the Secretary-Treasurer there, says, we are proud to represent such a committed group of drivers who know the value of a Teamster contract and the support that our union can provide. Lourdes, great, and she's probably not listening. She's a busy bee. Maybe she'll listen to the podcast later. But we appreciate all the work you do out there, and congratulations on that another group of workers. We also have some other news here for the state of California. There's a bunch of bills that were sent up to the governor to be signed. Labor kind of does a big package every now and then, and we just recently did that. And one of those in the CARES package, in the CARS package actually, not CARES, CARS, was composed of Assembly Bill 2286, which would have required human operators in any vehicle over 10,000 pounds, and Assembly Bill 3061, which would have increased accident reporting and transparency requirements for companies operating autonomous vehicles. Look, the autonomous vehicle situation is a big deal. It's not just a big deal because we're Teamsters and that's our bread and butter industry. It's a big deal because there's a huge safety issue here, and you cannot replace human ingenuity. You cannot replace human safety. You cannot replace that with AI. Even in your cars and your vehicles that are driving, you still got to be hovering over the steering wheel because there's things that happen. I've got a couple cars that can drive themselves a little bit. Can't say they drive themselves completely. And at the end of the day, you've got to step in all the time. One of the most interesting situations I ran into personally was in dips, a road that had like dips going up and down. The cameras on the vehicle had a hard time actually following that, and the car started jerking back and forth even though the lane was perfectly straight. It just was up and down. It was a really dippy road. And so that just shows you that, at some point you got to step in and you got to put your hands on the wheel, and you should not be 100% depending on autonomous technology when it comes to vehicles, especially when you're talking over 10,000 pounds, especially when you're talking a big rig, you're talking vehicles that are transporting freight or a lot of weight or other passengers. Think about it. You going to get into a cab or an Uber or whatever it is if there isn't somebody actually driving it, and you're going to sit in the back while there's nothing driving the front? I mean, it may be a novelty, but really think about it. I probably wouldn't be doing it for two reasons. One, I always want to make sure that we're not getting rid of jobs. And two, I wouldn't be that comfortable. So we're obviously disappointed once again that has been vetoed. And I believe that my notes are showing me that 90% of the legislature is in support of this. And so this is getting to a point where I think, the Teamsters are looking at what we can do to override the veto. There are certain things that you can do to override the veto, and we keep building out that pressure on a bipartisan approach to make sure all of those elected individuals in the legislature gets to that point where they're going to have to override the governor and make sure that this is done in a way that we protect these workers. Yeah, over 90% of the state legislators support the AV regulations, and so we got to close this gap and figure out how to protect this industry and quite frankly protect the community as a whole. We also on some other news that we have going on in San Diego, hotel workers are on strike. And the cool thing is there was actually a healthcare union that had an event at the Bayfront Hotel Hilton and pulled that as a result of the labor dispute that was going on in the hotel. And this is where solidarity kicks in. Not only do you have a labor dispute, you have that going on at the facility or at the hotel, and you also have big events that are going on and organizations stepping back and taking their work somewhere else or taking it away from that hotel if they're not going to play fair and get it done. Remember, this country was built on a protest, and if we don't respect someone else's protest, you can respect another protest even if you disagree with it. It's okay to disagree. Understand the value of having and respecting someone else's protest. Respecting that other protest, understanding it and hearing it, even if you disagree with it. Remember, don't ever undermine or water down the ability to protest, because that is what keeps the voice healthy, the voice of the people healthy. That's what's always, and that is the principal backbone of being a Teamster and being a union member, is having that ability to exercise your voice in the appropriate space. And so with that, we also have in the news, we have Governor Newsom has signed AB 98. That is it puts in place guardrails and mitigation measures when citing logistics facilities near sensitive public areas like parks and schools. I actually talked about this when Eloise was on a couple weeks ago. And that's now been signed, and there's new warehouses have a 300-foot barrier in sensitive public areas, or land that was rezoned to industrial, the barrier would be 500 feet. I know that there are some people that think that those barriers should be bigger. I agree. I think they should be bigger, but it's a good step. At least there's some barriers, because if you go to San Bernardino and some other cities, Fontana, Colton, there's actually some warehouses that literally share a property line with a school. That is not, that's just not good. And anybody who thinks that's good, I mean, who in the Planning Commission thought that in any way that's a good idea? I don't see how anybody could put two and two together and go, yeah, let's have a big warehouse operation sharing a property line with the school. So many bad things come from that setup. And so it's good to see that bill got signed. And new warehouses are now required to use zero emissions technology and meet energy efficient standards. Clearly, that is to try to keep down, the smog. Many people may not remember. I'm old enough now to remember when I was a kid in school, there were what they called third, second, first degree smog alerts, and we were not allowed to go outside. Take a deep breath. It's been a long time since I took a deep breath, and I could feel the pressure in your chest when we were kids from the smog being so bad in the Inland Empire. Now, clearly that was with Kaiser pumping into the air. A lot of the other industry was pumping in the air. Fortunately, some EPA regulations came into place in the early 90s, cleaned up the air a lot. The air is actually in the IE has kind of regressed back. But, it's important for us to pay attention to these things, not only clean air, but clean water. We need to make sure that our communities are safe when it comes to these types of things. And on the autonomous vehicle, I know I'm jumping around here. I'm going to get back to it. Lorena Gonzalez actually piped in on. Lorena Gonzalez, for those of you who don't know, she is the California labor leader that is in charge of the State Federation of Labor for the state of California. So she's the biggest voice in labor for all of California, arguably in the nation. And she posted on her social media post, refusing to regulate big tech and AI is going to be the Democrats' next NAFTA. 10 years from now, we will say, oops, we could have, should have done better for workers and for our planet. Listen to unions, respect workers, push for meaningful regulations in this space. So I'm sorry I missed that. I'm sorry for jumping around, but I think it's just really important to point out. Next in the news, we have workers vote for a strike at CVS Pharmacy in California. Talks are set to resume. UFCW Local 135 represents over 900 CVS pharmacy workers in San Diego County, and the strike would be based on multiple unfair labor practice charges by the union against CVS, and they have been filed with the NLRB. Employers are demanding an end to the alleged unfair labor practices while calling for fair wages, compensation, competitive benefits, and safe staffing levels to prevent theft, burnout, and hazardous working conditions. So that's it in the general news. I just want to report on a couple quick things on our local news. The Teamsters 1932 news, we had our member picnic on Saturday. Man, we had to have right about 2,000 in attendance. It was huge. Kids seemed to have a just phenomenal time. Kids were running around, having a great, there was 10 bouncers. Obviously, they could have tacos or hot dogs or burgers. And, really, really seemed like the members had a really good time. That was at Guasti Park. We actually rent out the entire park, have it for the entire day. And I got a note here to say except for the staff, because you guys were working all day. Robert, and I like how you snuck this in. It's true. Shout out to the staff. The staff obviously has to work hard to get that set up. During it happened, we don't get to obviously enjoy it the same way the members do, but that's okay. It's a member appreciation, and we're there to help the members have a great day that day, and they seem to. I didn't get one complaint. Normally I get some complaint, but I didn't get one complaint. I guess if you show up to a big event like that and you got free food and drinks and fun for the kids all day, there was I think cotton candy, and then there were treats, shaved ice, funnel cake. Yeah, you just keep giving the kids funnel cakes, right? Who's going to have a bad day with that? Maybe parents at night, but certainly aren't going to have a bad day while it's going on. Yeah, kids were running around, definitely burning off all their energy. The other is at Teamsters Local 1932. We hosted a Cal OSHA and Warehouse Workers Resource Center meeting on Friday. That was great to have Cal OSHA in the room. And it just shows the partnership between an organization that's trying to protect workers on the job and the organization that helped create OSHA, by the way, because it's the Teamsters and labor unions that argued for workplace safety, and OSHA, not just the national OSHA, but also California state OSHA. And any job protection that you have, just remember, unions brought that to you. Corporate America didn't. No employer advocated for any of those rules. It was unions that advocated for any workplace safety rule, and it was great to have Cal OSHA. They were there for half the day doing a training, explaining all the resources. We had workers from the area to understand the tools, the resources, how to connect, and what more things that they could do to make sure that their workplace is safer. I think I covered everything here. Did I miss anything, Robert? Anything in the news I may want? Yeah, I covered it all. One of these days, I'm going to get Robert on a mic. Oh. What do you think, Eric? Think we should get Robert on a mic? Yeah, thumbs up. See, Eric's shy, too. He doesn't want to talk. I want to talk to people, man. I don't want to be the only one rambling over here. And with that, I guess I'll just transition into Alex. Alex Perez works at the city of Montclair. And so we have just recently organized this group in the last year, and they're also in bargaining right now. And you guys just had a big rally, which seemed to go really well. Why don't you first introduce yourself, Alex, and kind of tell everybody what you do and how you make sure that there's safe water in the city of Montclair.
Yeah, so for everybody listening, my name is Alex Perez. I work at the city of Montclair. I'm the lead worker.
Got to turn you on. Start it all over. See, that's my rookie status. You got to blame me. That was my fault.
Yeah, so for everybody listening, my name is Alex Perez. I work for the city of Montclair as the lead worker in the sewers division. And I basically just maintain the sewer system. So, what I do is I go out and I clean.
You don't just basically maintain the sewer system. That's like a big deal. If that gets messed up, like that's a mess.
You know what? The funny thing about it is when you're going into certification for this, one of the first things they tell you is that this field is it's underappreciated. It's a lot of people know about it, but you bringing that up is important. Yeah, it's very important to the residents. Your waste has to go somewhere. And
imagine it backing up, and where for it to go. What kind of damage that does in a neighborhood or the community? Like, it's a really, really important job to make that stuff disappear.
So, like in our industry, what you just said, that overflow, that's called an SSO. That's a sanitary sewer overflow, and it's a real big deal. And so that's what I do at the city of Montclair. I just keep everything flowing, make sure everything's safe. Make sure all the waste is going through, repairing the system. And, when it comes to, what was the last part of your question?
What else do you do? And then you just recently had
and speaking of
you had an event here.
The event in Montclair, it was the first time for our city. I'm really appreciative of Teamsters and everybody that came out, to help support us, everybody that spoke there. And, it was a big deal. Our city isn't really used to anything like that because, before, for as long as the city's been operating, there's never been an actual union there. There's been these associations that are kind of like employer ran to an extent. But
they created associations so the employers can control them.
So right. Have you ever heard of CEA?
Oh, of course I have.
Yeah, so CEA was, that was for those of you that don't know, that's I think the California.
We're trying to put them out of business.
Employers Association. So what they do is they pretty much look out for the rights of the employers. So when I brought that up to our first fake meeting that we had, because can I just kind of go into how all this started
for
a bit? Yeah, so all this originally started in, I want to say, 2022 around March, when 3 of my friends had got let go by the city, over something we felt as employees was kind of like fishy because we didn't really have any representation. So we felt the investigation was kind of swayed one way in terms of in favor of the employers. We didn't really feel like those guys had a chance. So that pretty much sparked my interest to,
do something. Isn't there something better? You're thinking there's got to be a better system.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the first part. Yeah, was we felt like we didn't have any representation. We were just getting the book thrown at us for whatever. We didn't really have any way to defend ourselves. Actually, it's funny because when our employers, when this was all going down, they went to the association president, and all he said was, get a lawyer. Like we can't do anything for you. And then that's when I found out we were paying dues to CEA. So what happens is, come next year, which is 2023 in July, I'm getting ready, I'm making calls. I'm calling in Pomona, trying to say like, hey, how can I get in contact with the Teamsters? That's how I meet Raquel. We meet Raquel. I tell her, kind of explain everything that's going on. So what happens is I kind of do this grassroots movement where I'm just going, talking to all the employees after work, waiting for them to get off work to kind of explain like, hey, do you know what our association is currently about? Do you know who the president is? Do you know who's your secretary? 9 times out of 10, they had no idea what I'm talking about. So you have people paying dues to an association that, 1, they don't even know what it is, and 2, no one knows, what they're doing for us, which is nothing.
It doesn't have a good function.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a good process to function.
Yeah, exactly.
They're built like that by design.
Exactly.
Yep.
So everyone was kind of like, oh, what's this? What's this? So I'm waiting after work to meet people. People are inviting me over. We're talking about it, kind of explaining the history of like the association and, why we're currently not, unionized. So then come October of 2023, that's when we vote to decertify. And, we got our majority. And I'm not going to lie, it was a tough experience. For those of you that are listening that know when you're organizing, there's going to be a lot of pushback.
And it creates a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, I never had white hairs before I started doing this. Like now I have white hairs in my beard, and it's like it was a very stressful time. I had people.
Me too. Look at me now.
I had people coming to me telling me, stop what you're doing. Don't talk to anybody at the police department, or there's going to be trouble. And then when I would ask, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm just warning you," because I would try to get them like, "Well, what's going to happen to me? Tell me what's going to happen."
What's going to happen?
And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna help you anymore." Blah blah blah. So that kind of happened over time. People were making up rumors about me and lies, saying I was following people home, not knowing that these people are inviting me over because they want to talk. So my name kind of just got pushed through the mud. But the way I looked at it was, if I don't do it, nobody's gonna do it. So I kind of just put myself above my own just leisure life, because I'm 28. So back then I was 26 I was 26. So I was just young, just partying, and then I was like, I kind of have to do this because no one else is going to do it. Everyone has families. They're not going to take the time to go meet someone after work and explain, go through all this information. So for me, after the vote to decertify, that's when everything started to get hectic, because I was in talks with the president of our association at the time, and he was all on board for it. Then all of a sudden, he switches up. He blocks my number. Don't talk to me anymore. And then we come to find out towards the month before we have to vote to basically, whether or not we want to be Teamsters, this guy calls a meeting for the association. So they think that, because I get word that what's going on, the association's basically trying to revive itself to kind of, keep everything going.
Yeah, we're now gonna do our job.
Yeah, exactly. So
all of a sudden.
So at the time, the association just thinks that I'm going to be going to the meeting by myself. But thankfully, everybody that I had talked to, that had concerns, they showed up. So what happened was the president was shaky. He was like visibly shaky. You could tell he was like, I'm not prepared for this. I wasn't prepared to basically speak in favor or to show, an argument why you should still be with the association. This guy didn't plan that. So when people were actually asking him questions like, hey, why shouldn't we go Teamsters? Like, what are you going to do for us? They didn't have an answer, because they thought it was just going to be me, and then they could just, the sergeant at arms could just shut me down, because when it was my turn to speak, they were like, oh, you can't talk about Teamsters. Like, you can't talk about anything. I'm like, why not? Like, what's the problem here? That's the whole reason you're calling this meeting. So what happened was all of our people showed up at the city council chambers. So it was, the people who were trying to stay with our association, which is called MGA, that's Montclair General Employees Association. And then there was the other side of the room who wanted to be Teamsters. So it was great. It was, it was a lot of dialogue. We saw a lot of people show their,
True colors.
their true colors. And a lot of things got brought to light about,
And in the end, the majority prevailed.
Exactly, and we thought that was the end of it, but going forward, when we had the call to action to have the meeting, pretty much going to the city council to talk about worker power and why we feel that this deal isn't fair, we thought that'd be the end of it, but now it's like it's gotten pushed into Facebook. We have like the president of our sister association, he's calling us bad apples on Facebook, and nothing's happening to him, but if that was our group, we'd
be different.
We'd be thrown under the bus. Look at us, we're being, agitators, we're being bad apples.
Good.
So
it should be agitators.
It's just interesting that, we thought that would be the end of it, but now it's like.
Well, it's never the end of it, just so you know, Alex.
Yeah.
Like, remember, understand that worker power, when you build worker power, you're always going to have the boss or whoever's in charge trying to break up worker power. And even if you build the best and the strongest worker power ever, there's always going to be everybody kind of chipping at it from the edge. So it's important to try to keep that together as long as you can. And the good thing is you're in the beginning of this. You're like in the infancy of this because you're doing your first Teamster contract right now. And
we're done now.
He just lost his mic for some reason.
Yep.
Yep, there you are. You're back.
Yeah, so no, the contract's done. They've already given us their final offer.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're just we're gonna vote. We're gonna have a vote on Monday on whether or not to accept or reject it. So yeah, that's happening on Monday.
Is a recommendation to reject?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's going to get rejected.
No, yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like,
you guys going to go on strike here pretty soon?
Honestly, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I think that
in the public sector, there's a couple legal thresholds we have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But you heard me in the last membership meeting, I think, say
Yeah.
that we've been trying to figure out which city we're going to strike. Maybe it's Montclair.
I see it like this, right? Montclair is a different type of city. It's run differently than other cities that I'm used to. Because I first started out in the city of Chino, and then my dad was the public works manager for the city of Pomona. So I've kind of been instilled in public works like my whole life. I've been exposed to it, gone to council meetings. Like I've seen it throughout my whole life. Montclair is its own. It's like a unicorn. It's different. The way it's ran there. It's kind of backwards. I don't know if
it was a unicorn, it'd actually pay you well.
Well, I'll say this. It's not a unicorn. It's like, what's that guy's name? It's like, I forget his name.
It's an anomaly.
Yeah, it's definitely an anomaly. It's an enigma.
Well, I think that the best way to describe it, from what I understand, the longest tenured employee. Now, everybody thinks, if you work for the city, you're going to be there forever, and there's all these people that are there forever. I think your longest tenured employee is like 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy in a city. That is nuts. That tells you in any environment, it's not like the city's 8 years old, right?
No.
Or 10 years old or 20 years old.
No, they've been operating since I think I want to say like the
40s.
Yeah.
So
the 40s.
So you're talking. It's very likely that people have just moved on, right? Like, and because again, if the city itself is not taking care of the workers, what they're going to do is they're going to bounce. They're going to go find a job somewhere else.
Well, the city takes care of the clique. It takes care of the people up at City Hall, so to speak. But anyone else that's kind of viewed outside of that, which is basically our general unit group, we're told, hey, it is what it is. Like when my director first got hired and she introduced herself to us, she was just like, hey, if you don't like it here, you can just leave. And we were just like, how do you start an introduction like that?
Yeah,
you know,
that's terrible. And it goes to show why there's such a low tenure there. Most of the time when you get into an environment, whether it's with a city or, a good employer, you're going to have 20, 30-year employees. There's always somebody retiring out, and they're waiting for someone to retire out for the movement to start happening.
Yeah.
Because they've held on to everybody. Clearly, you have an employer that's not doing that.
There's no continuity. Let's say it like that, right? There's no continuity. There's some people who will get, if they hit, the cap on their steps, their position will now be converted to something else. And I spoke about this at the meeting. I said, when it comes to people that are staying here, I've noticed that, once they hit their ceiling, their cap, you know, their position will be turned to something else. And what Montclair does is they change it just enough to say, hey, you're doing something different slightly, so we're going to give you a new title, which would be like a specialist or like a senior position. So when I was at the city council, I said, hey, look, you're giving away all these specialist positions and all these senior positions while we have guys that have been capped for like 8 years, and you can't tell me that productivity is going up. It's not. So what it really is you're just coming up with an excuse to keep these people along, but not us.
Yep. Which, again, leads to turnover.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk. Apparently, the city council meeting went well, where you had a lot of Teamsters come. You had a lot of residents come and showed support for the city employees, correct?
Yeah, we had a lot.
How did that feel to have that much camaraderie?
It felt great. You know, we're not used. Like I said, our city's not used to seeing like this. Like when everyone pulled up with the bus, you know, I could see people inside
cool
City Hall
bus,
just looking through the windows. They're like, "What's going on?" Because you know they're not used to anything like this.
I love that bus.
It felt great. It felt like we were finally a part of something because you know we've been sticking this out for. I mean, I've been there 6 years. You know, and even before then, it was always kind of just like you're on your own. Like when I first got hired, I was like, "Why don't we have a union?" You know, and they were just
and
like,
it's good that you hung in there. It's good that you hung in there because now you can build it yourself versus bouncing and leaving it for someone else.
So I was talking to Carlos about this. I said there's a great Greek proverb that kind of like relates to this whole thing. It says that old men will never sit under the trees. No, old men will never sit under the shade of the trees that they planted. So I mean, I pretty much done that. Like I knew like going into this, you know, the first contract's going to be bogus, you know, second, third, probably maybe. But that fifth contract down the road for someone else after me, you know, 10, 15 years from now, it's going to be great for them.
Yep. It's going to take, it takes a while. It's never just a flip of a switch, one bargaining session. Oh, and everything's better. Obviously, you were explaining that during the organizing efforts. It takes a long time because you got to move those elected officials. You got to move the decision makers in the right direction.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, too, it's like where we're starting at, we're in a deficit. You know, we're not even on par with like the surrounding cities. You know, that's why we're getting a class and comp study.
Which is crazy because around you, you've got Pomona and you got Ontario and you got Fontana. You know, you got a lot of cities that the comparisons are really easy to make. I know they're bigger cities, and so you can obviously bake in the comparison with it being a smaller city.
Again, there's no continuity, though, because if you look at it, it's like, you know, people in 9C, you know, the city manager, they get paid way more than the surrounding departments in other cities. So it's like there's no continuity here. It's, oh, okay, let's do a class and comp study, but it doesn't apply to us.
Well, if the city manager is getting paid more, then everybody else should too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be making $500,000 too, you know?
For city of Montclair?
Yeah, $500,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Just got an 18% raise, so, you know, I don't understand it, but...
Well, that's where your money went.
Oh, no, yeah, you want to talk about where money went. When Measure L happened, that was our measure for COVID. That money was supposed to go towards our hero pay. What they did was they gave us a one-time inflation check of $1,500 before taxes. And, you know, it was just bogus because, you know, going into all this, it's like, hey, you guys got $10 million. And you didn't even treat us. You didn't even do right by us. You know, everyone else is getting their salaries paid with their COVID pay. You know, we worked all through lockdown, all through the fires during that time. We put our lives on the risk while COVID was running rampaging, and it's just weird. It's just like they didn't appreciate us. You know, they kind of just. But then again, who was going to stick up and say anything?
Yeah, at that time, right?
At that time.
Now you have a true advocate and the ability to raise these issues to the forefront like they should be.
Yeah, so
let's talk about your job a little bit more. You got any funny stories? You got to have some funny stories being in the field you're in.
Yeah, they're yeah.
Because James came on the show once and he talked about a lot of people commented on it. Talked about how somebody lost their wedding ring.
Yeah, so let me tell you. So I have a similar story like that. So I came in at 3 a.m. If you guys have ever been to Montclair, I was working outside the Montclair Mall, so Montclair Place.
Everybody knows where Montclair Mall is.
I was on Monte Vista Street right above the 10 freeway. So we're cleaning this manhole at like 2 or 3 in the morning because we can't do the busy streets during the day. So we have to come at night. So we pop open this manhole. I'm jetting. I look down, and I like to keep my AirPods in my pocket on my chest for my shirt. So I bend down, and my AirPods just drop right in. And then I'm thinking, okay, I've learned my lesson. Happened to me 2 other times because you just kind of forget about like, you know, putting things in your shirt pocket. There was another time me and my buddy found about, I want to say $300 worth of gold. So like gold rings, gold earrings, just catching stuff back in the catcher, you know, because we'll put this bucket down there to catch whatever we're pulling back while we're cleaning the sewer lines. This dude made like $300 just getting gold rings.
Oh, wow.
Gold earrings. We found a phone. One of the craziest things, so this didn't happen for us, but it's funny thinking about it. So I was talking to a friend of mine out in Florida who does this. They said they found a gator in their system.
Oh,
which is
my.
really crazy. Like, the most you'll see out here is cockroaches or rats, but imagine seeing like a gator. Like,
Yeah, what's the biggest rat you've seen?
probably like, I would say maybe about like a foot long. Yeah. There's some, yeah.
That's a big rat.
That's a big rat.
That's a New York rat. That's one that's got its own residence and it's got a,
Yeah.
you know.
We'll set traps down there to get them out, but yeah, they're pretty big. I think the worst is like roaches, man. Everybody that, you know, I envy a lot of you that don't have to deal with those things. They're really disgusting, really bad. I used to have a guy that I trained.
See, these are the jobs that Teamsters have to do, man. These so that your life is clean. You know,
I used to have a guy that I trained. He used to catch the roaches and throw them at me or throw them at someone else, and just like, it was so gross. It was the worst.
Remember, people are listening to this, by the way, so be careful.
It was the worst.
We talk about some of the things we don't want to get you. We don't have to file a grievance to get you out of trouble for it, right? So
that guy's no longer here. He's in Arizona.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah. Any other funny stories you want to tell, or? And what's your experience being a Teamster? Obviously, you got the Member Power Award last month.
Oh, I know.
Caught you completely by surprise.
I was completely shocked. You know, it was funny too because Carlos was like, "Hey, why don't you invite your dad?" And I'm like, "He's not gonna make it. He's gonna go home and go to dinner. Like, you know, I'll just go by myself." And it's funny.
Did your dad end up making it?
No, he didn't come.
He didn't come?
He went home. Yeah, because he works out in Harupa and he has to drive back to Pomona. So I was like, I understand. But no, I was like, okay, I brought pants. Because I was like, all right, I'm going to put some pants on. I'm like, no, it's just going to be a meeting. Like, I'll throw my shorts on. So I wasn't even dressed properly, like, for the event. So I wasn't even expecting the award. And then, like, everyone's all telling me, oh, my God, you should have seen your face. It's like, yo, I wasn't expecting it. Like,
yeah, Kathleen was sitting right next to me. And when I was walking through it, I could see you start to go, wait, that sounds like that might be me.
I'm like, no, that's not me.
It can't be me.
It's not me.
It can't be me. And then they're like, oh, it is.
He's like, Alex
he just
Perez.
said my
I'm
name.
like, whoa.
He just said my name. Yeah. And I looked at Kathleen and I go, yeah, we caught him by surprise. We kind of bet when we do the member power, do they know or do they not know? We could always tell by their reaction while we're watching them whether or not they know. You clearly did not know until he said.
I would say this, that moment made me feel solidified as a member. For sure, that moment right there. Because before then, it's like we hadn't had a meeting because, you know, it was summer and then we were waiting for the next meeting. That one was a good way for me to be like, okay, I'm officially a member. Like,
well, of course, man. You show up to a meeting, and then you get an award. Like, you're like, man, you're starting at the top here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share with our listeners? We got about 15 minutes.
Yeah. I would say, can I speak more about Montclair for a bit?
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know, coming in here, I know there's some people that wanted me to speak on this. It's like, you know,
first of all, are they all listening?
Yeah, they're listening. Everyone's listening back. Shout out to everybody at Montclair.
That's right. Well, live shout out for our City of Montclair Teamsters that are listening live. If you're not Teamsters, if you work somewhere else in the city and you're listening live, hey, you know, if you want to come on the show, we love having people on the show to talk about the jobs that are very important to the community because, like you said, nobody talks about how important these jobs are. And that's exactly why we have the billboards, why we have the buses, why we have the radio show, why we do all the things that we do is we're trying to get the message out. Don't take these resources for granted. Anyway, you wanted to share some things.
Yeah, you know, these guys and, you know, ladies, they wanted me to share this. They kind of want to just talk about, you know, what's going on at Montclair. Because for those of you that, I don't know, kind of touched on the meeting with Call the Action to Come Meet. You know, we have high turnover rates. You know, people feel like they're not being fairly compensated for their time. A lot of the departments are understaffed right now. I know my department specifically is understaffed, and right now we're kind of going through something similar by the state. We just got audited by the state of California when it comes to, you know, our reporting. Which are you kind of familiar with that side?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been really bad. Like, you know, one of their findings was, hey, you're understaffed. So it's funny that, you know, when we went, I brought up the understaffing. It's like, well, you know, when the water board comes back with their final, you know, notice of violations and you guys are hit with these fines, you know, I'll be right back up there to say, hey, this is what I was talking about at the meeting.
We tried to warn you.
We tried to warn you.
Yep.
Yeah, no, but, you know, everybody's really appreciative down there because, you know, for once we actually feel like, you know, we're part of a community, you know, whereas before, like I said, everyone just kind of felt like they were on their own.
And they have a voice in that community.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which is great now because, you know, everyone now knows what's going on. You know, we're keeping everybody updated with the, you know, with negotiation, what's happening, how it's going. Whereas before, it's like you wouldn't even know what was going on until the day of, hey, do you want to take this deal? Yes or no? You know, so I feel like for a lot of
felt
people,
bent over a barrel anytime too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, what else do we do?
So I feel like, you know, for anybody listening, if you're not already in a union, it's
You need
like,
to get in one.
You need to get one, because I've had some people come up to me from other cities, you know, who have heard about like kind of what I did. And it's like, look, all I did was I just talked to people. You know, if you just talk to people, you hear them out and you say, hey, you know, what do you think about, you know, our deal? What do you think about our association? Then you kind of get a glimpse into what everyone else thinks. And then if you all think alike, it's like, hey, you know, let's try to vote to decertify. Let's try to do it on our own. Because that was always my main argument, is like, look, we've seen what MGA can do for us. Let's see what the Teamsters can do for us. Like, come on, let's just try it out. And it worked, you know, because when we won, it was great. You know, everyone just wanted to change. They wanted to see what you guys had to offer. And so far, I'm liking what we've got.
Well, and I'll clarify what we have to offer, because it's not like you're going to a grocery store and you're going, do I want this cereal or that cereal or this cereal?
Yeah.
The building worker power and organizing a union it's a way of life. It shifts how you approach things. It's not just like it's not just transactional. There are parts that are transactional, but more of it is it's an education. It's learning what your rights are. It's learning how to exercise those rights. Clearly the things in which people told you while you were going through the process, most of that was against the law. No one, you know, you're not allowed to discourage workers from that. You're not allowed to use threats or intimidation or feeling like you're going to lose as a result of doing it, because that's clearly not the case. Workers do not lose when they organize a union, when they build a contract, when they build worker power. That is the only thing in the last 100 years, the only counterbalance for corporate America and employers has been unions collectively coming together with workers to exercise whatever policy, rule, or contract to make sure workers have a fair shake at the table. That's not transactional in, oh, give me $5, I give you a box of cereal. What it is more of, it's the more you empower and the more you educate everybody, the more workers that build around that, there's a level of accountability. The fact, if, you know, just knowing where all the city managers in the area, where their wages are, hearing that Montclair is actually at the top of that list when their employees are at the bottom, just tells you this is like an Amazon effect, right?
Yes.
This is the rich, and it's fine if you're going to make $500,000 a year or whatever. Make sure, if you're going to be at the top of the pay range for your job, you make sure everybody else is in the top of the pay range for their jobs too.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Speaking of that, I
Not
remember,
the bottom.
It's funny speaking on that, because I remember the opposition that came to me. They were like, "Oh, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, you know, all they have to do is just offer the Teamsters like $150,000 and they'll go away."
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it was just like, wow. There's a bunch of like,
isn't that the most?
It's ignorant, you know.
Ignorant thing you've ever heard.
It's ignorant, you know, and the person that was coming from was like the main antagonist to, like, you know, pushing back on me throughout this whole process. No, and it's funny too, because we kind of think like, you know, what would have happened right now if we weren't, you know, union? Like, I know they just contracted out the parks, but that's not for too long. I think they've got a sunset on it. And from what I understand, it's like, imagine if we didn't have the union. Like, what would have happened? They probably would have contracted out streets next, you know? We just never know.
They have a right, without a union, they have a right to contract everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly cities or organizations or companies that subcontract all this stuff out, you know, I trip out because they're losing control. You lose your quality.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, individuals that live and work, specifically if they work, obviously if they live and work in the community or specifically in that city, they're going to take care of their area even better than just a subcontractor.
Well, it's funny because one of the residents at the meeting, you know, he was chewing out the city manager, and he was just like, hey, you know, I've been to the parks. Like, they look horrible. The city manager was just trying to tell him, like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you know, I'm not a fool. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I've been there. And it was interesting because that guy was like, you know what, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back with other residents because something isn't right here. And yeah, you know, something isn't right in that city. There's definitely something that's, you know.
Well, if the city manager got $100,000 a year raise, I mean, what's he going to do with the extra 100 G's?
I don't know.
We should ask him. What are you gonna? What's his name?
Ed Starr.
Ed Starr.
Ed
oh yeah,
Starr.
he's from Colton, I think. Where'd he come from?
No, I know he lives in Pomona. I think he's from there, actually.
I'm trying to remember what.
Not too sure.
Trying to remember what city he came. Anyway, regardless of where he came from before, the name rang a bell as soon as I heard it.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if he got 90, 100 G's, we should ask him. Hey, what's up, Ed?
I am going to ask him something soon.
Ed, what are you going to do with the extra 100 G's? If what would you do if you got a raise that was $100,000 a year?
Oh my gosh.
What would you do?
With $100,000 a year?
Well, you said he got an 18% raise, so I just did the math, and that's about what it is from where his salary is. What would you do?
I don't even know what I'd do with $10,000 right now. I'm just trying. Right. I have $8 in my account right now. Like I just paid off my rent, dude. It's like I don't even know what I would do with that money. I mean, obviously invest it, but I am going to ask him something. After this audit goes, I've been looking.
You could put it down on a house.
Yeah. After this audit
goes, he probably
through,
owns a house, huh?
Oh yeah, he lives in Lincoln Park,
right?
Pomona. It's like one of the wealthiest spots ever.
Okay, so he already owns a house. He already probably has a couple toys, some nice things. So what's he gonna do with the extra change?
Nobody knows.
We should ask him.
Sometimes I feel like he just wants us to not keep up with inflation, so we can just slowly rot.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's crazy. Yeah. Let's. Obviously, it's the very beginning. First contract fight, and there's a lot of work to be done. Seems like though, up to this point, you do have some improvements in that contract compared to where you were before.
That's the thing, though. We're obviously getting recommended not to take it, and I kind of wanted to speak on that too, because it's usually if you've ever been in these negotiating meetings, a contract is usually it's a give and take. You give a little, they give a little, or they take a little. So it's kind of like a mix.
Yeah, it's a give and take.
The contract should be a mix.
They give, we take.
Yeah, the contract should be a mix. Well, this contract was more so, hey, this is our contract, you take it. So obviously we're like, no, we're not doing that. Why would we do that?
Yeah, just reject it.
So for me, it just seems like it's a lack of respect. It's a lack of respect. Like, come on, man, you can't even entertain us to have some of our proposals in there. It's kind of just like, nope, this is what we got, and you sign and you take it. Mm-hmm. And they're not used to hearing anyone say no. So I think that's another important thing. It's like this is the first time we can actually say no.
It's important for y'all to say no. I want you to know that, and hopefully your city officials are listening too. I'm the head of that organization, mm-hmm. and I would love for a city to want to pick a fight with us. I would love it. I would love for Montclair to be the city that decided. I mean, for me, I think it would be kind of crazy because I would picture a Fontana or an Ontario pick the fight because they're bigger, right? Maybe a San Bernardino, maybe a bigger one that's got a lot more resources pick a fight. However, if it's going to be Montclair, let it be Montclair. And
I think it just might.
We'll kick the dust up.
I think it just might because I honestly think that, Ed, I think that he's just like, do it. I'll call your bluff. Do it.
Yeah, he don't care. He's still going to get his paycheck.
Exactly.
He thinks he's going to.
I honestly, I think it's heading that way. Honestly, I think we might be the first one in this whole area.
First you got to do. The workers are going to have to reject that contract. So, obviously, I from my understanding, I just wanted to double check that it hadn't changed since I last talked to somebody.
No, we're still rejecting that
it's
thing.
It's still up for that. We're recommending a rejection, so it should be rejected. And so when that goes out for vote, you guys need to overwhelmingly reject it. And then at some point, we're going to take a strike vote of the group. Yeah. And I think it's going to be important for us to bring everybody together and prepare them for a strike. And let's imagine if you don't do your job for a couple of days, how that stuff gets backed up.
Oh yeah.
Like who's going to fix the overflow if you're not there?
Yeah, I mean, especially since we just got audited, it's going to be even worse because it's like you're telling me you just got audited, there's violations, and now your workers are on strike. Like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, they're headed for it.
Yeah, it's really bad. Speaking of that too, if there's any residents listening, that was kind of something I spoke on too at this meeting was that you're using your money to pay for the services that we provide, that we have to provide, for the residents of Montclair. And I just think it's unfair that they've raised the sewers fees, and now we have, this audit coming. They were understaffed. There's no direction when it comes to management. So it's like, I feel like for the residents, that's the worst part because they're the ones who are ultimately paying the price.
That's correct. That's good. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
The community, and then unfortunately, here's what happens. Here's what happens in this space. This is what frustrates me in this space. I'm always delicate about how I kind of beat up on a public employer because ultimately the public will take it out on you. Mm-hmm. Like, well, cut their pay, do this, do that. The reality is if management or the elected officials aren't doing their jobs, you can't do yours. And then in the end, you guys get hit. First and foremost, the residents are the ones that suffer first because if they're short-staffed and the audit comes in and says they're short-staffed, then guess what? The response time is longer. the ability to be proactive in repair and maintenance and being ahead of certain things that you need to be ahead of to prevent catastrophes or emergencies from happening, you can't get into the proactive state as a result of that. And so residents lose as a result of that. So let's make sure that everybody understands it's not the employees that are, it's the leaders within the organization that need to be held accountable.
Real quick, let me speak on that real quick, because the most important part of everything that you just said is that at Montclair, there's no connection between the workers and management. See, if there was a connection, management would tell the city manager, hey, this is what's going on. And it's not that the elected officials, don't want to do anything. It's that they don't know. There's no connection, because to them, it's like, hey, they only hear what Ed tells them. So there's a disconnect there. And that's pretty much what I've been trying to speak on is, hey, why is there this disconnect here? Don't you know what's going on? So thankfully with the audit, at the one of the foreseeable next, council meetings, I'll be there to speak on it. And I'm like, hey, I'm back. This is what I was talking about.
So. Well, Alex, we really appreciate you coming on. I got about, 3 minutes here, Eric? So I got about 3 minutes before we wrap this show up, and I'd like to just talk, just say a few words. Is there anything you want to close on before I do my little shtick at the end?
Yeah, let me just give my shout outs real quick. Shout out to everybody at Montclair who's a part of our group. Shout out to the police department, the police dispatch officers at the police department. Specifically Laura. She's been a real big help with the whole police side.
She's done a great job.
Yeah, she's done a great job. The streets department, the parks department, everybody down at the yard, everybody human services, code enforcement, the janitors. Everybody's been a real big help. And
janitors are way more important than anybody gives them credit for.
Yes, they are. And then, thanks for everybody at the Teamsters. Thanks, Raquel, Sherry, Carlos, you, Randy, Robert, everybody that I'm missing. Juan, especially Juan. Yeah, thanks, Juan.
Nah, we ain't even give Juan any credit.
Thank you, Juan. Yeah, just, thanks, everybody, and thanks for having me up here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on, Alex. So, obviously, Alex and his coworkers built Worker Power. And what I love about this is where we come full circle. So we've been doing billboards and buses and really building the Think a Teamster and Worker Power build out and message and narrative in the Inland Empire. And just the other day, I happened to be somewhere and somebody recognized the billboard. Got 2 minutes. Somebody recognized the billboard. The Robert told me a story the other day. He went into a new business and they recognized the billboard and said, "Oh, you're working for that? They have billboards on the side of the road." Like, this is working. The message that we're building is working. And for me, this is cyclical right here. Having a worker that was non-union just a year and a half ago was in a very tough situation. He's still not completely out of it. We're working through it now that he's organized. He realizes, the group realizes their power. They've taken that power and held the boss accountable. And just the other day, I happened to go into somewhere and someone recognized me, my picture on the billboard for the radio show, advertising the radio show. It's the awareness that we're trying to bring out to build worker power. It's not to make me, a popular person. It's really, the more we teach workers how to do exactly what Alex has done, the more we build worker power, the better workers are going to be. So the question for you is, what can you do to build worker power? You need to talk with your family. You need to talk with your friends. You need to talk with your neighbors. You need to build worker power, because it's worker power that's the only thing that's going to hold employers accountable, is getting a union contract. It's getting it in writing and getting a guarantee. Without that, nothing else is going to be permanent. Policymakers come and go. Worker power is permanent. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. Randy Corrigan, Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, signing off. Take it away, Eric.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters